This is Graceland Mansion, home of Elvis Presley. Every day, hundreds of people come here hoping to catch a glimpse of the king of rock and roll. And once a year, the Elvis Presley Fan Club comes to Memphis for its annual convention. Still, they talk about their idol. They exchange pictures, buttons, and some even buy a piece of the sheet that Elvis slept on last September in Huntsville, Alabama. These fans are sincere. And one girl from Canada says she's often criticized for worshiping Elvis.
People sort of think it's really funny. They chuckle at you. They sort of make fun of you, thinking that he's sort of something of the past that, you know, you shouldn't really be wearing him while, you know, I mean, to wear Farrah Fawcett or something is okay, but when you wear Elvis, people laugh at you and they make fun of it, you know, you're wearing Elvis Presley, you know, and stuff like that, which I think is wrong because he's still here and he's still going really strong. And I like to wear them and I'll continue on wearing them. I don't care what people think.
Those who come to see Elvis don't want to walk away empty-handed. Even a leaf taken from one of his trees is enough to satisfy most of his fans. This is Mike Halloran reporting in Memphis for NBC News.
Remember the Elvis Presley song called Suspicious Minds? Well, meet some suspicious minds, and they're all Elvis Presley fans. These people actually started gathering at the ticket window of the Mid-South Coliseum at 3 o'clock this morning, shortly after they heard a radio announcement that the second concert was being added. Why are they suspicious? Well, they feel they've been misled.
Well, it just seems unfair because the leftover money orders from the 27th show, they're filling the 28th show with those, and when those run out, we get the balance, which doesn't seem like there might be even 2,000 left, and they're all going to be rafter seats. And I think that if they're going to do it that way, they should work from the back forward. Because we're waiting in line for the 28th show, it should be only fair that we get front row and back, you know?
The fans have even started a protest of sorts. This woman is wearing a postage stamp to protest the fact that mailed-in ticket orders get first choice, which means her ticket will cost $15 plus 13 cents when the ticket office finally opens at 8 tomorrow morning. By that time, most of these people will have been waiting in line for 29 hours. What is it about Elvis?
Oh boy. You have to feel it. You can't really describe it. It's just a feeling that you have that he gives you a lot of happiness, a lot of love.
You're married. How does your husband react to this?
Oh, he thinks I'm silly, but he's pretty good. He lets me come, and I don't work, so he gives me the money, and it makes me happy.
It's sort of like a hobby, I guess you'd call it. My friends and I belong to Raised on Elvis fan club in Dallas, and we follow him around. We've already been to like 8 concerts this year.
And he's sexy.
Well, if the people get tired of waiting in line, they can always pack up their blue suede shoes and check into the Heartbreak Hotel. But for the time being, they're saying, management of the Coliseum, don't be cruel. Let us have front row seats. Nancy Hart at the Mid-South Coliseum for Action News 5. There's something very wrong with this scene. What is it? Well, it's just been about 20 minutes since the doors opened to sell tickets for an Elvis Presley concert. There are tickets left, but there's no one standing in line. What does it all mean? Well, it probably doesn't mean that the king of rock and roll is slipping. After all, fans from all over the country started lining up to buy those tickets at 3 o'clock yesterday morning. Then they found out that mail-order tickets from a previously announced concert would be given first choice on seats. They were furious, and the publicity they created probably did more than anything to discourage potential ticket buyers.
It seems unfair because the leftover money orders from the 27th show, they're filling the 28th show with those, and when those run out, we get the balance, which doesn't seem like there might be even 2,000 left, and they're all going to be rafter seats.
That was yesterday. What about today? Well, this is about all that's left of the enthusiastic group that spent the night on the sidewalk outside the Coliseum. But this morning, bleary-eyed and hungry, they were, as they had hoped, first in line, but still angry.
It was a ripoff. It wasn't worth, I don't know. It's worth it to see him in Memphis, but losing 48 hours of sleep for row 20 of the balcony is kind of bad.
On the rafters.
That's
48
right.
hours for the rafters.
When we could have stayed home and sent in a mail order and gotten better seats.
We could have sent a mail order off 2 days ago and gotten a decent seat without even knowing about it. They didn't let anybody know. We sent off for mail order. We may have double tickets for the same concert and we don't even know yet.
If you knew you were going to get tickets for an Elvis concert, would you do it again?
Not if I was going to get this kind of a seat, no.
Only about 250 people were actually waiting in line when the doors opened this morning, but they were all serious in their efforts to buy those tickets. Elvis Presley fans come in all shapes and sizes, but within 15 minutes after the ticket office opened this morning, it looked like the security guards outnumbered the ticket buyers. Nancy Hart at the Mid-South Coliseum for Action News 5.
An ambulance brought the King of Rock and Roll to Baptist Hospital at 3 o'clock this afternoon. His road manager had found Elvis in his bedroom at his Graceland mansion, unconscious. He wasn't breathing. By the time the ambulance reached the hospital, efforts to revive Elvis had failed.
Our Harvey team, our emergency resuscitation team, began working with him and continued this effort until approximately 3:30, when his personal physician, Dr. Nicopolis, discontinued this effort.
Elvis was dead.
The preliminary phases of the autopsy have been completed, and the cause of death is cardiac arrhythmia due to undetermined causes. Now, what this means is that there are several cardiovascular diseases present, which include a history of mild hypertension, which was under pretty good control, and some coronary artery disease. Now, these two diseases may have been responsible for this cardiac arrhythmia. The precise cause has not yet been determined for the cardiac arrhythmia. It may take several days to several weeks to determine that specific cause, and in some cases it never is discovered. But basically it is a natural death, and due to the cardiac arrhythmia, which is an irregular beating of the heart. The presence of drug use, there certainly were some drugs that were being used for the medical conditions that were present, but there was no evidence of any kind of chronic abuse of drugs.
What drugs was he using?
Cocaine.
No evidence of cocaine use.
His aides were shocked. They said Elvis had been in good spirits, had been looking forward to a national concert tour.
He was supposed to go on a tour here. Was his health bad that you know of?
He was fine, all set to go. Supposed to leave tonight.
Presley's tour had included 2 concerts in Memphis later this month. Both had been sold out.
Dee Presley was married to Elvis's father for 14 years. 3 years ago, they separated. Today, she lives in an East Memphis apartment where an easel in the living room holds a picture of her stepson.
He was everything. Elvis was the greatest stepson, friend. He was just everything to me and to my sons. And we loved him so much. I just can't believe it's happened.
What kinds of things would you like to do together when you were together?
Oh, I suppose our favorite time was Christmas and playing in the snow, riding horseback, and just gathering around the piano and singing hymns at Graceland. Those were the special moments, I think, and with Lisa and Priscilla. We were a real close family.
Dee Presley says the separation didn't seem to affect her relationship with Elvis, and she stayed in close touch with the Presley family.
Was Elvis playful? Did he ever trick you or play a joke on you, you recall?
Oh, yes. Yeah, he did. He was very playful. He used to, the 4th of July, would have the fireworks, and Elvis used to just put off a firecracker or something right in one of the dens to frighten everyone. And of course, I seemed to be the one a lot of times that he'd do it too. He liked to play tricks.
But you two got along pretty well.
Wonderful. Really great.
Mrs. Presley, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. I'm so sad. I loved him so much. I hope you'll forgive.
It's perfectly okay.
Please forgive the tears.
Sure.
From the moment it was announced that Elvis Presley was dead, fans and friends flocked to his house, and some stayed the whole day. Weeping, sobbing friends who were just looking and hoping for some word that the tragedy wasn't true.
God, David, he was so close to Elvis. David.
Are you a relative or friend?
I knew Elvis for 20 years. I knew him.
We've been here waiting since Sunday night to get a glimpse of Elvis, and last night he left the house about 11 o'clock with some friends and came back in about 2:30, 2:45, and he was fine then, and he was smiling and waving, and he had his girlfriend in the car and his doctor and a couple of other people, and they drove up and they waved and everything, and he looked fine. That was about 2:30 or 2:45, and then then this morning, then we were here again early this morning, and we saw the ambulance come, and the ambulance flew right in, and immediately we knew something was wrong, and they came right back down, and in the ambulance was Elvis Presley's doctor, and they were working on him, and they wouldn't say who it was, but we figured it was him, but they said it was his grandmother.
How would you describe what you feel right now?
It's just, I don't know, I just can't hardly believe it.
I can't believe it. I just can't. I've been a fan of Elvis since I've been 16 years old, and my dream came true. My husband brought me up here yesterday to see Elvis's home, and I've waited 21 years for this, and I don't believe it. I just don't.
No funeral arrangements have been made yet. The Presley family says it's just too early to make those kinds of plans. However, it is believed that Elvis will be buried here in Forest Hill Cemetery, somewhere near his mother's grave. Eileen Jones, Action News 5.
During his life, Elvis Presley touched the lives of many, many people, but one life he touched very early was that of Louis Black. Louis is the son of the late Bill Black, the musician with whom Elvis started his career. So Louis came by our studios this evening, bringing his father's scrapbook and talking about what he remembers about Elvis Presley.
The main thing I remember about him was before they started playing professionally anywhere, that they used to play out in the front yard, Elvis, Scotty, and my daddy. And I used to just sit down under a big tree out there and just pick and grin, if you want to call it. And they went on and played around in a few places. I think they played up at Ford's Engine House and a couple of places around town there. They used to just try to play a little music.
So what did you think when Elvis became the king of rock and roll?
Well, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, you know, that my father was in something like that with him, you know, and to go places, and it was really something, because everybody, all the kids would ask me, you know, I mean, what does Elvis look like? How does he look really in person? Is he a good man or what? And I said, well, yeah, he's fine. He's a real good fellow to be around.
Is he a good man? Was he a good man?
Yes, he was. The main thing I remember about that was when my father passed away in '65. He come out to the house, and when he got ready to leave, before he left, he went over to my mother and he said, Evelyn, he said, I want to tell you that if there's ever anything that you or the kids ever need, he says, don't you ever hesitate. He says, you come and let me know.
What went through your mind when you first heard?
Well, I really couldn't believe it. I wanted to see what happened. Turned on the radio. The first thing I heard was the king of rock and roll has passed away.
Rarely has the American dream been lived so fully. It was a rags to riches story, a classic. Elvis Aaron Presley, born in Tupelo, Mississippi, January 8, 1935. His twin brother died at birth. His father was a cotton farmer and sometimes carpenter and factory worker. The young Elvis got his first singing experience in the choir of the local Assembly of God Church and at revivals and camp meetings. The boy got his first guitar as a birthday present when he was 12. He learned to strum chords, but he never learned to read music. The family moved to Memphis when Elvis was 13. He went to Humes High School and worked as an usher in the nearby theater. After graduation, he took a job at $35 a week driving a truck. His career actually struck its first spark in 1953. Elvis dropped by the Old Sun Record Company in Memphis and plunked down $4 to cut a personal record. A year later, he did another record at Sun, but this one, That's All Right, Mama, was released in 1954. It wasn't a smash, but some clever observers, even at that early date, detected something new and special. It was a blend of hillbilly and rock and roll. Then came the biggest turning point in the Elvis career. A shrewd promoter named Colonel Tom Parker took over management of Elvis and toured him through rural areas of the Mid-South under the name of the Hillbilly Cat. Then came the 1954 Country DJ Convention in Nashville, where RCA decided to sign him to a contract. The company quickly made history by releasing 5 Elvis records at the same time, and the kid from Memphis was soon responsible for half of RCA's pop music production. Throughout the mid and late 50s, the constant stream of Elvis hits, Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, All Shook Up, It's Now or Never. The long sideburns, the swivel hips, the dark eyes, the skin-tight pants, and the electric guitar made a dent in the teenage consciousness that has rarely been so deep in all of pop music history. There were the famous 3 appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show, and then an incredibly successful string of movie hits, beginning with Love Me Tender, then Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, and on and on and on. But Elvis made his strongest impact in the personal appearances. One Life magazine writer wrote in 1956, "They get set off by shock waves of hysteria, going into frenzies of screeching and wailing and winding up in tears." He was a millionaire by the time the Army called in 1958. Who doesn't remember the old newsreel shots of the young Elvis having his shiny black locks shorn by the Army barber in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas? His Army career was fairly routine as it can be when you're a millionaire and your name is known around the world. After a tour of duty in Germany, Elvis came back to his career, and there were more hits, more concerts, and more movies. And throughout the good years, lots of generosity. always remembering family and friends and many fans with money, cars, and trips. In 1967, he married Priscilla Ann Beaulieu. A daughter was born a year later. Then the couple separated in 1972. Elvis went into semi-retirement in the late 60s with 400 million records and 31 motion picture films to his credit. And then in 1972, a brief reappearance, and the fans were still faithful. There were sellouts, 4 of them at Madison Square Garden alone. In fact, he finally became a prisoner of his own home and his hotel rooms. Everywhere, Priscilla Presley, Elvis's former wife, slipped quietly into Memphis last night. Other relatives and friends flew in too. Early this morning, they gathered inside the quiet walls of Graceland while a crowd started forming outside the gates. The people came from California and Oklahoma, Georgia and New York. Some had camped out all night. How long have you been an Elvis fan?
It's a long time, 20 years. So at least 20 years.
What was your reaction when you heard about it?
It's kind of an empty feeling. It's hard to put in words. You know, just real empty inside. You know, it's kind of hard to say. You know, it's kind of lost for words, really.
These are the faces of Elvis fans, devoted fans, sad fans, people who wore black, people who brought wreaths and flowers for the Graceland gate in memory of Elvis.
It's fantastic.
He's the king. What more can you say? He's just the greatest, I think.
The fans, numbering in the thousands, waited to pay their last respects to Elvis. At 11:30 this morning, a hearse carrying the singer's body left the Memphis funeral home, winding its way down Elvis Presley Boulevard to Graceland. The hearse quickly turned down a side street and pulled into Graceland by the back entrance. Elvis's coffin was taken from the hearse and placed in the mansion's music room. At 3 o'clock, the fans started filing in for their last view of Elvis. The coffin was open. Elvis was dressed in a white suit, blue shirt, and blue tie.
This is the house where Elvis Presley was born, January 8th, 1935. He was a baby here and a boy here. The family would move to Memphis when he was 13. The most striking thing to most people who come up to view it for the first time is how small it is. It's a long, long way, both in size and distance, from the Graceland mansion in Memphis. What do you think of this little house coming upon it?
Rags to riches.
That's
it.
That's it. It's just, it's so little. You can't, you know, you figure, well, he started somewhere, but you wouldn't believe he started in this.
It could only happen in America. That's it. From this to a mansion in Memphis.
Tupelo has an Elvis Presley Boulevard, too. And on it, just a few blocks down the street from Elvis's birthplace, lives his 5th grade teacher, Mrs. J.C. Grimes. Mrs. Grimes will remember Elvis as a pupil who was just as sweet as he could be.
I did know that he had great talent. He sang in the schoolroom, and the little boys and girls would love to hear him sing. He sang Old Shep and won out at the fair, 2nd prize in my room. And he had such feeling that this was about a dog, and the little boys and girls, they even cried when he sang this song. He had that much, you know.
This man was a boyhood pal of Elvis. Tupelo policeman Guy Harris says he and Elvis were just poor young boys raised in East Tupelo.
All we had to do back then was we would mow yards or help people pick stuff from the gardens or clean off their gardens or stuff like that to make us a little spending money and to go to the movie here in Tupelo on weekends, on Saturday mostly. And then we would go down to the creek, which runs behind my mom's house where I was raised, about 2 blocks from where Elvis was raised at that time, and go swimming. We'd made us a little raft down there out of trees and things, and we'd go swimming down there occasionally when we could slip off from our parents.
Elvis never turned his back on Tupelo. He would quietly slip into town from time to time and visit his home place or Mrs. Grimes. Guy Harris thinks it's all pretty amazing that one of his playmates would become world famous. And Tupelo will always be known as the small Mississippi town where a king was born.
Elvis Presley, the man who thousands sought after, spent his life running from the maddening crowds. He was rich, famous, and powerful in his own right, and it appeared he had it all, everything except freedom. It was just last week that Elvis Presley and some of his friends came here to Liberty Land and rented it for the night. Why? Well, just imagine the commotion that might have started if Presley had been seen mingling with regular folks trying to have a good time. Elvis even had to make dentist appointments in the middle of the night. Often he came here to his dentist's office at 10:30 p.m., a time when he thought few, if any, would recognize him. And today, like in the past, thousands of fans went in search for Elvis. Although they were allowed to pay their last respects, friends and relatives continued to shield and protect the life of the man. Two of them, though, said they wanted to do whatever they could to pay tribute to the man they loved. They are members of the Stamp Quartet, a gospel singing group that performed with Elvis at every concert for the past 5 years.
The only thing I could say, besides Jesus Christ, there's no greater man that ever lived in any respect, in loving his friends, and loving the world and giving to the world. There's no way to express it. Besides Jesus Christ, he's the greatest man I ever knew.
Was Elvis an unhappy man?
No, I don't know about that. Always seemed happy to me. He's a deep man. A lot of fun now. A lot of that stuff's a bunch of bunk. So I don't want to get into that at all, because I'd get upset. He gave so much, and we gave so little really back to him. Just the people, average people, you and myself. But he gave it all to us. He gave everything he had, his life and his energy. So I guess that God needed him just a little bit worse than we did.
They both wore necklaces Elvis gave them and rings costing some $40,000 Elvis also gave them. And they said when they heard the news they rushed here from Nashville last night in a limo that Elvis gave them. But they say these gifts are nothing. It was the man who was beautiful. Eileen Jones, Action News 5.
Can we see that? This is Glenda Duncan. She was 14 years old when the Elvis craze hit. At that time, she was only in braces. Today, polio has left her in a wheelchair. Elvis's death leaves Glenda with a lot of memories, like the first time she met Elvis. From then on, they seemed to hit it off. Regular visits to Graceland Mansion, an exchange of holiday greeting cards. Elvis gave her a scarf and a stuffed hound dog. Glenda Duncan admits she, like a million other girls, had a crush on Elvis.
When I was growing up, I had a crush on him, and I've always had a crush on him. And he's gone, but I've got a lot of things to remember him by, and there'll always be a place in my heart for him. There'll always be a place.
Glenda last saw Elvis on July 4th last year. She planned to see him at his upcoming concert. She'd already purchased her ticket. Glenda thinks she'll just hold on to it. Russell Ruffin, Action News 5. Today, the Presley family opened the gates of Graceland Mansion for the general public to view the body of Elvis. By 5 p.m., the crowd numbered more than 70,000. Traffic was brought to a halt. As temperatures reached 87 degrees, those who had stood in line for as long as 6 hours began to pass out from exhaustion, as many as 100 of them. News teams from around the world were represented. For more than 24 hours, Mason Granger of our staff filed the only live Memphis television reports from the mansion. At 6:30, the gates were closed. Only a third of the crowd had actually been admitted to see Elvis. The rest were dispersed. Some had been physically removed. All were disappointed.
I'm angry because that I didn't get to see Elvis for the last time, which I hope is not the last time. I hope I'm not turned away from the pearly gates like I was turned away from his gates.
Several persons were arrested for disorderly conduct, but for the most part, the crowd cooperated with police and National Guardsmen who were activated to help control the crowd. About 1,000 fans are still standing vigil at the Presley Mansion, holding out some hope they will be permitted inside, but there's little chance of that. A sad ending for the king of rock and roll. His Memphis concert was scheduled August 27th, where he was reportedly planning to announce his Christmas Day marriage to Ginger Alden. The two had been engaged since January. A private funeral service will be held at the mansion tomorrow morning, with burial at Forest Hill Cemetery, where his mother is buried. Memorial services will also be held tomorrow in Elvis' boyhood home in Tupelo, Mississippi, where Roger Cooper files this report.
That long line of white cars moving down Elvis Presley Boulevard. Not the usual black sedans or black hearse, but white. Perhaps indicative of the fact that the spirit of Elvis Presley and the music of Elvis Presley will live on forever.
One that Memphis will remember as a major time it's been through.
Right, I think many kind of grassy hill. If Elvis had lived, Roger, today, he would have been on a national concert tour. He would have...
About 3.5 miles into Forest Hill Cemetery.
Albums and so forth, people here with movie cameras.
Graceland Mansion for the last time. The crowd straining to see and hushed as Elvis's body moves by.
Perhaps we can pan down with the hearse, Steve, and see the hearse going off down. There we go. There's our helicopter shot, the hearse surrounded.
Some show business associates, the people who helped Elvis run his amazing career.
Not the usual black sedans or black hearse, but white. With Elvis Presley's body at that point where he will be buried, probably in about maybe 15 minutes or 30
I'm sure it'll take
minutes
15 minutes to get there.
Right.
The service lasted an hour and I guess 30 minutes. It took about 10 minutes for people to get out and to get into those limousines.
And there's our live action cam shot.
Crossing an intersection, I can't be sure.
It was a sad day for the millions of Elvis fans across the world and for the 6,000 fans who stood near his Graceland mansion. They waited for hours to see his funeral procession pass by. Like his life, Elvis's funeral was private, held at Graceland. Guests started arriving early, relatives and friends and show business stars. By 2 o'clock this afternoon, they were all there. C.W. Bradley of the Wooddale Church of Christ in Memphis and nationally known evangelist Rex Humbard began the funeral service. Over an hour later, the family and guests came out of the mansion. Elvis's body was placed in a hearse, and the funeral procession started its way down the rolling driveway that leads to Graceland. The hearse and the lead cars were white, perhaps because it was one of Elvis's favorite colors, a fitting way for him to leave Graceland for the last time. The motorcade turned north on Elvis Presley Boulevard, headed for Forest Hill Cemetery, about 2.5 miles away. Along the route, people snapped pictures. Some people cried. And reportedly, at least one person ran off the sidewalk into the path of the motorcade. It took the cars an hour to reach the cemetery. There, Elvis Presley's coffin was carried into a mausoleum and laid to rest, signaling the end of his life. But his spirit and his music will live on. As one mourner said, there'll never be another like Elvis. Mason Granger, Action News 5.
Elvis Presley's music was born in the souls of Southern black gospel choirs and blues singers and filtered through a white Southerner's heart to give it commercial acceptability. Music critics have pointed to dozens of obscure Southern records of the 40s and 50s as the source of Presley's music. It wasn't new, they said. But there's that one inescapable fact, that until Elvis worked his own magic with that music, very few people anywhere knew it existed. United Press International's Jim Buchanan was a disc jockey and professional musician in the late 50s and early 60s when Elvis was a show business phenomenon. Buchanan followed the superstar's meteoric career both with professional and personal interest, and these are some of his reflections. Elvis' sources ranged from black Memphis street singers to white country greats like Hank Williams, from Lightnin' Hopkins to Little Richard, from gospel choirs to down-and-out bands at crossroad taverns. In the mid-50s, when Presley burst upon the music world, critics found it hard to categorize his music. Contemporaries like Bill Haley and the Comets were placed in the rock and roll bag, but Presley's initial records on the Sun label in Memphis first found their way onto the radio airwaves by way of country stations. The word rockabilly was applied to Buddy Holly and Jerry Lewis, but it didn't fit Elvis. He was called the king of rock and roll, but he was as much a crooner as he was a rocker. He was a blues singer and a gospel singer and a Vegas-style showman all at once. He did it all, and in the process he redefined American popular music. When he appeared on Ed Sullivan's show, Elvis was handled as if he was a savage rebel youth that just might embarrass the still new medium.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, for his second appearance of 3 appearances on our show tonight, Elvis Presley. You ready? Set, go and go. I got a gal that I love so. Ready to rock and roll. Here comes my sweetie pie. She's my rock and roll baby. She's out.
But Elvis made it happen for most of those who followed. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were the first to say that if it weren't for Elvis, the Beatles never would have been. And Mick Jagger's strutting sensuality was derived from Elvis' gyrating pelvis. The fans knew there were too many saccharine ballads, too many cover versions of other singers' hits, but such mistakes were tolerated because the Elvis fans knew something else about their king. He had paid his dues. Frank Gardner, Action News 5.
They opened the gates at Graceland today. Elvis the man wasn't there, but his spirit was, and his fans.
We run the fan club in New Jersey, and we came down to pay our respects 2 days ago, and we've been here ever since, and we plan on staying until Sunday.
Despite Elvis's death, things looked rather normal at Graceland this morning. People peered over the wall, as they did when Elvis was alive, and they wrote on the wall, adding their names to the hundreds already there.
I love him, that's real. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do. All by itself. Yeah.
Then there was Elvis's Uncle Vester. For 20 years, he's been taking photos of the mansion for the tourists. He didn't stop today.
If you want pictures, I'll take them for you. That's about all I can do. We may tour next week, but not today.
Up and down the driveway went Vester, each time carrying a load of Kodaks and Polaroids.
All these fans come a long ways, and we love them very much. They put him on the hill, so we're going to try to keep him, keep all his fans thinking of him if we can.
It's just something that once you see, you just got to have a picture of.
Besides getting their very own shots of Graceland, the visitors got their very own shots of a star when a limousine pulled up. Inside was actor George Hamilton.
I don't think I got nothing there.
2 days ago, people tried to break through the Graceland gate to see Elvis's body. Today, the crowd was smaller and more orderly. Some of the people milled around for a long time. They didn't seem to have anything else to do. Now that Elvis is gone, it's not known whether his family will hang on to the Graceland mansion or sell it. Regardless, for rock and roll fans, this house will always belong to Elvis and no one else. The fans will keep coming here to stay in touch with the legend. At Graceland Mansion, Mason Granger, Action News 5.
The crowds began gathering last night outside the gates of Forest Hill. At 8:30 this morning, the gates were open. In a goodwill gesture to his many fans, the Elvis Presley family offered each person visiting his gravesite a single flower. But shortly after noon today, all of the thousands of flowers from the 3,000 arrangements had been given away. The crowd today was much more orderly than previous gatherings for Elvis, but there were still tears.
Lost everything. Everybody's lost something. Lost everything. He was just, I don't know, just loved him.
The Presley family is reportedly considering having a separate mausoleum constructed on the grounds to entomb both Elvis and his mother. Cemetery officials say there are no definite plans, however. A constant flow of plans is expected here for years to come. But today, they numbered as many as 100,000 by some estimates. They all came for one thing, a piece of the king's crown, his hound dog, his guitar-shaped floral arrangement, and all got what they came for, a single flower, one final souvenir to remember Elvis Presley. Russell Ruffin, Action News 5.
Happened in America. That's it. From this to a mansion in Memphis.
Stand over this little ditty.
I don't want to be on this. On this.
What?
On the back of you.
Could I ask you, sir, Robert,